Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Destiny video. Now, in today's video, I want to give you a little run through of my Hunter. I hit level 30 a couple of weeks back, and I've been meaning to put this video together for a while now, and I finally sat down and got the time to do it. So, today I'm going to give you a little run through of my level 30 Hunter, show you all my gear, my weapons, everything that basically makes my Hunter my own. So let's get this started. First up, this is me. Spinning around, you can kind of see from all angles, I am clearly rocking this red colour. I'm the little sort of red Power Ranger right now, but this is my Hunter. As I said, I hit level 30 a couple of weeks back, finally got my sort of last piece of raid gear. I am still missing the raid helmet, but for the time being I've got everything I need to be level 30. Now, just to kind of sort of recap for those of you that sort of unsure, in order to be level 30 you need to have 120 light, and basically what that means is you need 3 pieces of raid gear and an exotic, or 4 pieces of raid gear. Typical armour, the armour that you buy from, say, the sort of vendors, like the Vanguard vendor, the Crucible vendor, or even the faction people, their light, the light stat on those pieces of armour will only ever go to level 29, or 29 light, should I say. Whereas exotic pieces, if I open up this for example, will go to 30, as will raid gear. I kind of hover over this one as well. You can see all of those have light 30. So you need 4 pieces with 30 light to get to 120, and that's how you achieve level 30. So unfortunately, as it stands right now, the only way for you to hit level 30 is to go through the raid. Anywhere else, you're going to have to kind of stick it at level 29. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's start off with my armour. So, as I said, I don't currently have the raid helmet just yet. I do really want it. I think my final sort of armour setup that I want to go with is the raid helmet, and then I want to go with the exotic arms for the Hunter. I'm going to flash them on the screen to sort of show you the ones that I mean. I'm sort of still waiting for those ones. I haven't seen them sold by Zero. I haven't seen them in a drop yet, so I'm still waiting for those, but that's what I want to go with. The raid helmet, those arms, and the chest and the legs from the raid as well. That is obviously until the next raid comes out, and then I change it all over again. But anyway, yes, so this is currently my helmet, the Knucklehead Radar. So for those of you that haven't seen this before, the perk, or the main perk for this one, is the Sensor Pack, which allows me to, or allows the kind of radar to remain visible while aiming at my primary weapon, but only the primary weapon. So it's no good if I'm sniping, it's no good if I'm kind of like got a rocket launcher or anything like that. It's only for your primary weapon. So this is really, really useful. I do use it quite a bit, and obviously the gun that I use at the moment. In fact, I'll come back to that in a second. But at the moment, yeah, I use the Vanquisher 8. But yeah, so that is the kind of key perk for that one. Then in addition to that, you also have things like Inverse Shadow, which basically increase the super energy gained from killing minions to the darkness, or the Light and Blade, which basically means that when I cause damage with grenade, it reduces my melee cooldown. So in general, this is a pretty cool helmet, and it does look really cool. It doesn't actually kind of do it justice on the right here, but when I'm sort of standing out in the open world, it does look a lot better. I also don't really like the way that your character kind of previews in this screen, because it tends to be sort of a little bit too light, and often sort of when you look at it like here with all the sort of shadows, it looks so much cooler. But anyway, I digress. So that is my helmet. I do also have the Acleophile Symbiote, which technically speaking I should use more. I am a gunslinger, or kind of primarily these days. I used to kind of main Bladedancer, but these days I kind of use Gunslinger a lot more, especially because I do a lot more raiding, and Bladedancer, at least the kind of super, isn't that great for the final bosses. It has its kind of different perks, sort of, you know, different times, especially going invisible. That is really useful, but primarily that's what I do. So I should really use this, because this will obviously give me another shot in my golden gun, but I'm not a massive fan of the look of the helmet, and as silly as that may sound, I don't really want to wear a helmet that looks mouldy. So that goes in the bank, and that stays there. I don't need this, I'll get rid of that. Good old Mangola skin. Then Prime Zealot gloves. So these are the greaves, or the gloves that you get from the raid. You can see here your usual kind of like upgrades in defense. Now these are the key perks. It's worth calling out that in the raid, or out of a raid set, there'll be 2 pieces of armor which will have raid specific perks. That is the helmet, and that is the gloves. And you can see here, for example, I have the option of switching between these. Basically, it means that I gain additional super when I destroy oracles in the Vault of Glass, or alternatively when I destroy Praetorians. Now, I should probably kind of put that on, you know, you can kind of switch it up however you want. When you do the Templar fight, it's probably better to have these, but I do encounter my fair share of Praetorians, so I kind of tend to leave it on there for the time being. But these are the arms for the Hunter out of the raid. And then if I move on to the chest, this just kind of like a sort of standard thing. You know, again, this doesn't have any kind of raid specific perks. It's only ever 2 pieces in the set, and it's always the gloves and the helmet. But yeah, this is the chest. This is the Prime Zealot Cuirass. Then moving on to the legs, we have the Prime Zealot Greaves. So this is basically the entire set, all by the helmet, from the Vault of Glass. So that is my gear. That's basically what I've got right now. Everything else there is just, oh, actually is worth kind of calling out. I do have the Lucky Raspberry. When I'm a Bladedancer, I do switch this because it is really useful. Having the improved Arc Bolt Grenade is a massive, massive godsend, especially when you're doing something like the Vault of Glass and you have waves of enemies. Throwing that grenade inside and having extended chains is a massive lifesaver. But I don't really use that much for now. You know, I'm Gunslinger at the moment, so it doesn't really kind of sort of, you know, benefit me too much, and I haven't finished upgrading it yet. So that is what I have in my armor slots. And then as for the cloaks, this is the one that I'm wearing at the moment, the Shatter Vault cloak. This is the cloak from the Vault of Glass. The other one that I wore, my other kind of favourite one at the moment is this one here, the HLD Starwinder cloak, which just looks really, really cool. And obviously if I equip that now, just quickly, you can actually see that in the open world. There you are, looks kind of cool. But what I'm actually doing is I'm actually saving up, well no, I've got enough money. I'm just waiting for it to come back to the speaker. I'm waiting for the Coyote cape because I think it looks really cool. It'll obviously go nicely with my red colour scheme. But that is it for the time being, and the rest of these are just sort of, you know, like the Dustwalker cloak and things like the ones for FWC and whatnot. But that is not important. That is now my armour. So this is the armour set I'm currently running with my Hunter. Then if I jump over to weapons, primarily I use the Vanquisher 8, which is the New Monarchy auto rifle, but I have recently started switching up and going to the Vision of Confluence, partly just to level it up, but also partly because since Scout Rifle's got a buff, I do actually prefer using Scout Rifles to auto rifles, so I have kind of started going back to them, using them a bit in PvP as well. I tend to kind of mix it up if I'm playing on slightly longer range maps, then I use this instead, but otherwise I do still tend to use the auto rifle just because, love it or hate it, it does seem to get the job done. But yeah, the Vision of Confluence is the scout rifle you get from the raid. So it has base stats of 257 solar attack. Kind of sort of key perk for this one is Zen Moment, which basically means that when you cause damage with this enemy, it increases its stability. And if I jump back, it's just sort of worth calling out at least the Vanquisher 8. The good thing that I love about this, you know, the fact that there are obviously loads of different perks you can choose from, but down this tree here, you can either have, you know, extremely low recoil, you can have Iridium cores that overpenetrate targets, but to be honest, the best thing about this is Field Scout. Maximum ammo capacity. So if I take that off, you can see that my normal magazine is 22, but this is 42. That's almost double in the round, or in the magazine, should I say. So 42 bullets or 42 rounds in a magazine is extremely useful. It's basically like firing 2 clips before you need to reload. So that is really good in hectic gunfights and hectic battles. I then rock it with the kind of what I like to call the ACOG scope, but that is my kind of scope of preference. So that is the New Monarchy auto rifle. And that's what I tend to use a lot more in PvP. I have also got the Vex Mythoclast. I haven't actually started sort of leveling up too much. I've only just got it actually earlier this week, so or earlier last week, should I say. So yeah, I've got a long way to go on that. But this is the fusion rifle that acts as a primary weapon that you get from the Vault of Glass. This is like the kind of the final gun you'll get in the game, so to speak. You get it from defeating Atheon in hard mode in the Vault of Glass, or on hard mode in the Vault of Glass, should I say. It's obviously not a guaranteed drop. It is still, you know, luck based. It's still kind of in the hands of RNGesus, as they like to say, but that is kind of the Vex Mythoclast. Then moving on in my secondary slot, this is always my go-to gun, the Icebreaker. This is my favourite exotic weapon. I love it, and it's just like, you know, I just never really want to sort of take it off. That's partly why I don't use the Vex Mythoclast so much, because I don't like taking the Icebreaker out of my secondary slot. This is a sniper rifle that automatically reloads itself, and it regenerates ammo, so you don't need to reload it, it just generates ammo over time. And this perk over here makes enemies spontaneously combust, which deals damage to nearby enemies as well. So this is a beastly sniper rifle, and just look at it, it looks crazy. So this is my favourite, one of my favourite guns in the entire game. I do not know where I would be without this, and this gun alone has let me solo so many things like Nightfalls and Heroic Strikes on level 28 and things like that, so this is a godsend. However, in addition to that, I did just get this the other day. Just picked up Praedyth's Revenge, which is also really, really useful because up until now, if I ever did switch out my Icebreaker, I didn't actually have another good secondary, so I do now have this. This is a Void Sniper Rifle, which is mighty useful in the Vault of Glass, especially when you do it on hard mode and you're fighting those Praetorians when you go through the portals. This is a massive lifesaver, so I've got a little way to go to upgrade this, but the Feeding Frenzy is the key perk on this one. Basically means that kills with this weapon increase its reload speed for a short time. So that is my backup sniper rifle if I need to. Sniper rifles are my go-to secondary weapon. I barely ever use shotguns or fusion rifles. I think if anything, if I have to go, I mean this is the only reason I hold on to this Saurus MKB. Basically for when I go into Crucible, because if I'm not playing Iron Banner and the weapons are balanced, then I just switch to this just because it's kind of a decent enough shotgun. Gets the job done, you know, it's only because I haven't actually got a better shotgun since. So, can lose that as well. And the only reason I'm hanging on to that fusion rifle there, Xbox, stop listening. Bloody hell. The only reason I'm hanging on to this fusion rifle is because I'm currently doing the exotic bounty to get Pocket Infinity, and I don't actually have a better fusion rifle. So, going into the Nightfall with this is a hell of a lot of fun, but anyway, that's that. And then finally, my heavy Mainly I use the Unfriendly Giant, just because again it's the legendary rocket launcher that's dropped for me. I haven't had anything else since, and it just seems to kind of get the job done. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not too fussy when it comes to rocket launchers, because largely, you know, a rocket, an explosion generally kills people in one on PvP, and when it comes to PvE, you know, it does enough damage as it is, so I'm not too fussed. But this one, sort of keep up for this, kills with the final round in the magazine, increase the reload speed. And obviously this as well, rockets from this detonate early based on proximity. So that's mighty useful, but yeah, generally it's just kind of standard rocket launcher. It's a Vanguard one, but I got it from a random drop. Then alternatively, I do have the FWC machine gun. I don't use machine guns that often. I mean, I know they have their uses, and I know they are kind of like better in certain circumstances, but to be honest, I'm not really a massive fan of them. I'd rather just fire a rocket, so this doesn't really get much love. It's kind of sort of sat there, still stock, not any upgrades or anything like that, but this is a weapon that I do still have. Then on top of that, I did just get this the other day. I am still just trying to sort of build up my collection of exotics. I just want to kind of get them all, kind of like a sort of Pokemon master, if you will. So I'm just going to get them anyway, even if I don't use them that much. This one I've been sort of casually upgrading, you know, doing bounties and whatnot, so I'm not too much in a rush. But this is the rocket launcher that Zur just sold. The kind of cool thing about this one is it has homing missiles once you get to that perk, and similarly like the other one as well, it's also got proximity detonation. So this is the exotic rocket launcher. Then let's jump over to my subclass. So I've maxed out both subclasses. Start off with Gunslinger. I actually, well, when I sort of first played through the game, the second I got to level 15, I switched straight to Bladedancer, maxed that out first, then came back to Gunslinger, because during the game, when I was sort of doing story missions, when I was doing PvP, I love using Bladedancer, but when I started to get to the end game, get into bosses, get into the raid especially, I realised that aside from, say, using the invisibility from Bladedancer, the super wasn't obviously that useful. Most bosses you get up close and they'll just smack you down, so I figured it was about time to switch back to Gunslinger, and plus the triple jump is really useful in jumping puzzles or things like that in the Vault of Glass. So, this is me. So I have the Trip Mine Grenade, also in preparation for when I do get that that exotic gauntlet, because that actually has a bonus for trip grenades. Then on the this side of things, I have the triple jump, just because why not? I mean, triple jump is awesome, so that's my kind of go-to thing for that. Then for the golden gun, I have combustion, which basically means that when I kill enemies, they explode, which does deal kind of damage to surrounding enemies. So that's really useful again in PvE. Then if I come over to here, the throwing knife. This is the other reason I came back to Gunslinger. I missed the throwing knife so much. If you had a throwing knife in the Bladedancer subclass, I think I would, you know, probably stay there. I think that would probably kind of seal the deal for me, but this is what kind of made me come back. And I have this as well, which basically means that when I throw a throwing knife, it sets the enemy on fire, and it basically deals damage over time as well, which again is useful in PvP, because the amount of times I've thrown a knife at someone and they haven't quite died, they've then killed me, but then just afterwards I get a post-mortem because they've just died from the flames. So that is really useful. And then over here, I obviously go to Path Forgotten, because I'm always kind of focused on toughness and speed. I want my agility as high as possible. Then Scavenger over here, because picking up ammo reduces the cooldown on my throw knife and the grenade, and I want to use them a lot. So obviously when you're running around the battlefield, that is really useful to me. Again, another one sort of like focused on, you know, attributes, because obviously anything that mixes it up a little bit more will take away from my agility, so I want to kind of keep it on there. And lastly, this one here gives me a second throwing knife. So I now have double the chance to use this, and again on PvP this is mighty useful, because the amount of times that I've thrown a knife and just missed someone's head and it's done, you know, it's taken down the shields, and then the second knife just finishes the job. So this is my Gunslinger setup, and as you can see, I've got almost max agility, my recovery is pretty low, armor's kind of midway, so you know I'm obviously quite squishy, but it is what it is. Then if I just jump over, just for those of you that are curious, this is kind of how I ran with my Bladedancer. So again, I had the Artbot Grenade because it worked in conjunction with that Lucky Raspberry. I had Blink. I do kind of mix it up a little bit when I'm doing sort of jumping puzzles and stuff. I do tend to sort of jump over to double jump, because Blink is a little bit unpredictable, but especially in PvP, Blink is useful. Then over here, obviously, Arc Blade I went with Showstopper, because I didn't really like Razor's Edge. I didn't really sort of find that it kind of actually did that much damage, and I didn't really sort of like the way it worked. This was kind of useful, but to be honest, I can sort of crouch to go invisible, so I thought there was no point. So yeah, that's what I go with. Then again on here, Blink Strike, well, that's a given. And then this one goes down to here, which reduces the cooldown on Blink Strike. You then have Path Forgotten. Again, my kind of focus is always on max agility. This is really useful because it increases my sprint speed and makes me slide further. And that, for those of you who kind of asked a question a while ago, when I put up some videos and I had this kind of purple aura around me when I'm running around the tower, that is because of fleet-footed. Then again, my upgrades on, you know, things pushing up agility, because obviously anything else would drop that down. And lastly, this. The amount of times that crouching to go invisible saves your life, it's crazy. I mean, when you're in the Vault of Glass, if you get cursed or anything like that, or you know your screen starts to go dark when you're fighting Atheon, if you crouch and go invisible, it kind of negates that, so that's really useful. But also, when you're kind of soloing missions, the amount of times you can just sort of run through enemies instead, you crouch, go invisible, run past them and get to the next checkpoint, it just makes your life a lot easier. So, that is my Bladedancer setup. Then sort of if I jump back out here, go down to here, just sort of like run you through the last few things. This is my Ghost Shell. This is the one that I got from the Collector's Edition. This is my Sparrow, which is the Sparrow that you get from the Vault of Glass. And the really cool thing about this, it's quite durable, it's really fast, but also it has an overdrive function. So when I press down LT and RT, it basically lets me boost a hell of a lot faster than before. But if I hold it down for too long, I will explode, or kind of my Sparrow will explode. So you need to kind of manage that accordingly. Then I obviously do have strafe thrusters, so I can move left and right, and just sort of like a faster boost. So that is my Sparrow. And the ship over here, Glass Minuet, is the ship you get from completing the Vault of Glass on normal mode. I haven't got the ship for hard mode just yet. I completed hard mode the other day, but I only got like the Vex Mytha class and a couple of other things like that. So yeah, still waiting on that ship, but that is my current ship of choice. I'm not really a massive fan of it, to be honest. I actually prefer this one. It's just a common ship, but I just prefer the kind of colour and the shape of it. But I figured, you know what, I might as well kind of just rock it with all legendaries. Then my shader of choice at the moment is God of War. So you can see this sort of nice red one. Before that, my go-to one was Blacksmith. But I'll show you now. If I switch to that while wearing the raid gear, I have these yellow trousers, which makes me look frankly ridiculous. So I dropped that. Shatter White, obviously the one you get from completing the Vault of Glass. But that's a little too sort of pale for me. So yeah, this is my kind of go-to shader. And then obviously my emblem, symbol of the wolf. I bought that on day one. You know, the first day that I went on Destiny, I went over to the lady that was selling emblems. I bought that, and this is the emblem I've worn and kind of had every single day ever since then. So that, guys, is my hunter. That's my level 30 hunter, and that's all my weapons, all my armour, all my gear, my setup, everything like that. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it sort of answered some questions, because a lot of you have been kind of asking, you know, what weapons I use, what gear I've got, you know, what setup I've got, things like that. So hopefully it has now answered all your questions. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit the like button and show your support. It does really help me out, and obviously don't forget to subscribe for daily gaming videos. Drop a comment down below and let me know what level you guys are. Just really sort of interested to kind of see where you guys are at. Are you level 30 yet, or are you kind of sort of like working, still sort of looking for a raid party? But either way, just let me know what level you are and also what character you are. Thanks again for watching. As always, take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.